sense. But we are going to review writing equations of lines, which we may have done in little parts of some of the other things we've talked about, but this is something we've got to be good at and make sure we understand, okay? All right, so if we have the slope of a line, conceptually, well, what letter do we use to represent slope? M, okay. So M equals delta y over delta x, okay? What does delta mean? Change, okay? So it's a change in y over the change in x, okay? That's all it is. As an equation, it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What are some other words that we can use? What do we say when we're graphing it? When we're counting our slope, what do we say? Rise over run, okay? Rise over run. Okay. We all good with that? Okay. Nothing new here at all. So then, we're going to do a little work here. We're going to rewrite the slope of a line. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we all know that we don't all love fractions, right? If we want to clear the fraction, we multiply by what's in the denominator. So I'm going to put parentheses around that. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by that. When I do that, I'll get m times x2 minus x1 equals y2 minus y1. Goodness. Everybody understand what I did there? Okay, all I did was multiply both sides by that so that I got rid of my fraction. Okay. Now, the reason I did that, if I now switch the sides of the equal sign and drop the 2, then I will end up with y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And that is the point slope form of a line. So I know you have seen this before, and I know most of you probably don't love it, but I want you to see that it just comes from the slope formula. That's all that it is. It's really not that hard to remember. And if you can't remember it, write down the slope formula and you can come up with it. Okay? Does that part make sense to you? All right, what's the other form of the line that you know? Y equals what? Mx plus b. All right. So how many of you would say out of these two, this one is your favorite? Raise your hand. If you had to pick one, this would be your favorite? Most of you? Okay. I'm going to change your mind in just a minute. So this is, all right, here you're going to write your new favorite form. Trust me right now. I'll prove it to you in a minute. Okay? then good. Then it is, then you can mark it. If it already is your favorite form, then you can mark out new. Y equals mx plus b, you should only use if you know the y-intercept. Not if you can find it, but if you know it. It was told to you, or you can pull it off of the graph or whatever. And again, I'll make you believers in just a minute if you're not already a believer. So those two look familiar, right? Even if you still feel like the second one is your favorite. All right, vertical and horizontal. We've probably already kind of done this part, but we're going to do it again because it kind of all goes together. Vertical line, that is an x equals line, so that's like x equals a. And a is the x-intercept. So it would look like this. And it would be like x equals 3 or whatever. And remember, if you take an x and you divide it in half like that, that's where you get a v for vertical. Then for horizontal, that's y equals b, where b is the y-intercept. So that would look something like this. You get y equals 3. And then if we have a lowercase cursive y and we rotate it around, we get a lowercase cursive h for horizontal. Do whatever you got to do to remember the two. Everybody okay with all that? Questions? All right. Now this little diagram here, I may have showed you this, but I decided yesterday I made this, put the actual little skiers on there. So I want you to think about snow skiing, all right? And even if you've never been, just think about if you were to go at some point, if you had to ski uphill, do you think that that's why you went and that'd be a whole lot of fun? No, probably not. It's probably because you fell or your friend fell or whatever. So this guy is saying, poor me, feeling sorry for himself. And it's the P for positive because that is a positive slope. If you are skiing downhill, that's why you went and spent all the money, right? So that's where the fun is. So this guy says, nice. N is for negative. Now, this guy, it's not exactly as fun as going downhill, but it's not as exactly as difficult as going uphill, right? So he's just saying that this is zero fun. So that is a zero slope. Okay. Now, if he keeps going and then he falls off the cliff, there's a lot of things we could say, but what he's going to say is, oh no. And don't worry, no stick figures were harmed in the making of this activity. And this is because this is no slope, which means it is undefined. And I want you to really think about the differences here, that here he can still ski. There's ground there. There's just, the slope is just zero. It doesn't slope one way or the other. Here, there is literally nothing. He can't, it's completely undefined. There's nothing at all. So there's a difference between zero and no slope, okay? We good on those? Questions? All right, so hopefully you're not still getting these things mixed up, because I think probably when you first start learning it, everybody gets things mixed up. But if you still get these things mixed up, and remember there's signs over there on the boards or on the wall too, whether you're dividing by zero or zero's in the numerator, that's your difference between zero and undefined also. So just keep those in your brain however you need to. All right, let's flip it over. So we're going to start with, we're going to write the equation of each line in point slope form. That is your y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your new favorite form, which I'll make you a believer in a minute. This is called point slope form because you need a slope and a point to do it. There's my slope is 3. I highly suggest that you actually label your ordered pair x1, y1. I know most of you won't when you actually do it, but then whatever. Just don't mess it up. So we're just substituting stuff in, and this is going to give me y minus 1 equals 3 times x minus a negative 2. Then we just clean it up a little bit, and I get y minus 1 equals 3 times x plus 2. And then you know what you do next? You stop. You're done. Do not do anything else. That is point slope form. That's it. I don't have to distribute. If I do distribute, then it's no longer in point slope form. But that's it. I'm done. This is the equation of my line. Bam. Okay? We good on that? All right. I want you to do B. That is it. Okay. All right. Any questions at this point? Pretty simple, right? But you got to know what that, you got to know the form of the line so that you can do it. Okay, so the next one we need to write in slope-intercept form. We have 2 points, so the first thing we need to do is find the slope. So my slope was y minus y and x minus x, right? So 10 minus 4 over 8 minus a negative 2. That's going to give me 6 over 10, which is 3/5. Okay. Now, we can get it into y equals mx plus b form a couple of different ways. You can substitute in the y and the x and the m and solve for b and rewrite it. That's one way. Y'all were probably taught different ways by different people. But really, I think the easiest way to do it is to put it in point slope form and then just simplify it. But either way, you end up with the same stuff. But you have to choose one of the 2 points. Which one makes more sense to choose? 8 and 10, because it doesn't have the negatives on it, right? So we're going to use this point and this slope. And we'll get y minus 10 equals 3/5 times x minus 8. And whether we do it this way, use the other point, or you do it a different way you may have been taught, you're going to have to deal with the fractions no matter what you do. So now to get it into y equals mx plus b, you're going to need to distribute and move the 10 and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you a minute to do that. And I'm being a bad example because I know I'm on my phone. My daughter left this morning. The plane took off, thank God, because of all the delays. She's going to New York to get married. So I want to make sure that the plane actually also lands, because that's the other problem people are having, is getting the planes aren't able to land where they're supposed to land because there's no air traffic controllers. So they still got another hour, but they're in the air. That's good. Okay. How are we doing? Are we still loving this? No, maybe not. Y minus 10 equals 3/5 x minus 24/5, right? Then I get y equals 3/5 x minus 24/5 plus 10. All right, what do I have to do to be able to add that 10? What do I need? Common denominator, right? Which will be 5, so that makes this 50 over 5. So y equals 3/5 x plus 26 over 5. Now here's why the other form should be your favorite form. Because again, whether you did it the way I just did it and use that point or use the other point or did it a different way, you're still going to have to deal with all the same fractions. You get all the same numbers. But this wasn't fun. Even if you're good at it, isn't that a lot of places where you could make a mistake even if you didn't? Totally, right? Whereas if this was your favorite form, you would have been done right there. Okay? And they graph the exact same line. So if you get to choose what form, you may not always get to choose, because sometimes you might be told, like you just were, to put it in that form. But I'm telling you, unless you know, like if you know what the y-intercept is, okay, maybe. And we actually are told on one of these, but we don't know the slope, so we'd have to do it differently. But and we'll get to that when we get to that. But this is one way that I can make you, and I can make you a believer by giving you all of the questions with horrible fractions and you trying to put it in that form, and then you finally get mad enough to agree with me. I can force you into it that way. All right, but are we good on that? Do you see why that really can make your life a whole lot easier? Just don't fight it, I guess is what I'm saying too. All right, this next one. Now we're not there yet. I'm sorry. This one is point slope. So y'all do this one. Find your slope, but this time just put it in point slope form. And I'll give you a second to get that way. You don't have to put it in the y equals mx plus b. Do you really think that helps?
What?
I'm banging on it?
Yeah.
I have no idea where I got 10 from. That is a very good question. I have no idea. I was just thinking the same thing. I don't know. Not a clue. All right, let's do that again. Probably because I was doing the math in my head while I was writing it down. I don't know. All right, so negative 10/3. Maybe I'd already calculated it. I don't know. All right, so you could have picked either point, right? I would imagine most of you probably picked the first one, but if you pick the second one, that's okay too. If you pick the first one, you get y equals, no, you don't. You get y minus 6 equals negative 10/3 times x minus 2. Or if you pick the other one, you get y plus 4 equals negative 10/3 times x minus 5. Either one is fine. Completely fine. Even in delta math, if you have to do this, those look like two completely different lines. Both answers 100% fine. If we were to graph them, we'd graph the same line. If we were to put them into y equals mx plus b, we'd end up with the exact same equation for that. But it doesn't matter either way here. Okay, we good on that? Questions? All right, so excuse me. Here, it still says point slope form, but it gives us the intercepts. So how do you think I could go about getting my equation and slope and stuff here? Turn them into points. My x-intercept, what would that look like as a point? 3, 0. Good. Make sure you get them in the right order. And the y-intercept would be 0, negative 5. Beautiful. All right. So then we find the slope. Negative 5 minus 0 over 0 minus 3. Looks like a 6. And that's going to give me positive 5/3. A little shortcut, if you have the intercepts, it's the y-intercept over the x-intercept and you change the sign. Chances are really good you probably won't remember that, but that's fine because doing the slope is very, very simple, right? So shortcuts are great if you remember them, but I never really have to think about it, so I might as well just do it. Okay, so then we have some options. Now, since it did say point slope, if I do it with this point, this would give me y minus 0 equals 5/3 times x minus 3. Or if I did it with the other point, I would have y plus 5 equals 5/3 times x minus 0. And when where I have the zeros, I wouldn't need them. I could just have y and x and it would be totally fine. But this is fine too, so I might as well stop. But I said at the beginning, we should only use y equals mx plus b if we know the y-intercept. Now, it told us to put it in this form, but this is a time where, since I know what the y-intercept is and I have the slope, if I had an option, I could do y equals 5/3 times x minus 5, which is what I would get if I distributed that 5/3 right there. So, but you see how if you know the slope and you have that, you can just write the equation. That's great. But if you have to calculate the y-intercept, it's probably better to do it the other way. Okay, we good on that? Questions? All right, let's talk graphing, the easy way and the hard way. And the hard way is usually the way that y'all like to do things, right? Really, I don't think you would necessarily do the hard way on this one. This one's pretty easy to graph, right? What do we start with? The y-intercept. And that's at 1. Then I do my rise over run, right? And I think if it were me teaching algebra, teaching you this from scratch, if we're going to say rise over run, I think we should always rise. So I would go up 3 and then run to the left 2. Or I can go down 3 and go to the right 2. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you have a negative slope and you're good. All right. So then your ID, which should be around your neck, makes a great straight edge. And there's your line. Okay. Now tell me on the second one, I think y'all can do that with no problem. On the second one, would you put it in y equals mx plus b to graph it? Probably so. So let me tell you what you would get if you did that. You would get y equals 2, I can't read my own handwriting, 2/5 x plus 11/5. If you needed to graph a perfectly good graph, would that be a problem? Ladies, would that be a problem? Yes, because you got that 11/5, right? We're almost done. Can y'all contain yourselves just for a minute? So instead, I want you to think about what we have here. And this is in the form of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, right? So do I have, what is my slope on this line? 2/5. Give me a point that's on that line. Well, this is minus and minus, so it's just 2, 3, positive 2, positive 3. 2, 3. To graph the equation of a line, you just need a point that's on the line and a slope. Here, the point just always happens to be the y-intercept, but I can plot the point 2, 3, and then from that point, count my slope. So I can go up 2 and to the right 5, but I'm off my graph. So I can also go down 2 and to the left 5. And then when I connect those, it will go through 11/5. And I don't have to worry about where 11/5 actually is. So think smarter, not harder. And I will tell you, though, in Delta Math, sometimes Delta Math, when they give you explanations, they show you the hard way for whatever reason. So they very well may show you on a graphing question to put it in y equals mx plus b, which again is not necessarily wrong. It's just kind of not even worth your time if you understand how to do it the other way. Okay? We good on those? Any questions at all? All right, awesome.